background as we go through, and we'll get underway. But first, Mia would like to acknowledge that across the country, the land on which we work, on which we rest and play, and we live is land that was stolen almost exclusively through genocide from the Indigenous First Nations people of this land. It was land never ceded, and the arts practices of those peoples should inform our art practices today. It always was and always will be Indigenous land. I will hand over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, you so much, Andrew. Okay, everybody, so welcome to this conversation today. I'm going to open it up. My name is Nadia Infusion. I have been a professional dancer for about over 13 years now. I started my career in Brisbane full-time in 2010, moved on to Melbourne, and then did a stint all around the world. And I probably could keep chatting on about all of that kind of stuff, but we want to talk about even more important things today, so I'm going to hand it over to Anna.
Hello, thanks Nadia. I'm Anna Johnston. I am a creative director, choreographer, dance teacher, performer on the southern eastern of Queensland, southeast Queensland. I've been dancing and teaching for over 11 years now. Oh, hi Meg.
Hello.
Sorry, no clue what
here.
happened.
She's here. She's here.
The show goes on. The show goes on.
Absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, that's all about me. Meg, over to you. That's my introduction done.
Hello, everybody. My name's Meg Cooper, and I own Mad Dance House. It's a dance studio in Brisbane City, and I'm currently in our 19th year of business. I contract dancers for corporate events and gigs, mainly in Brisbane, and see a lot of requests for dancers for sometimes very little pay or no pay at all for exposure come across my desk quite regularly. So quite present to this this situation that we're in as a performing arts industry. That's me. So currently in Australia, we have the One Live Performance Award, and that sets minimum wages for employees when it comes to rehearsals and live performance fees, conditions, overtime, Sunday penalties, public holidays and leave. It applies to everyone in live performance, actors, dancers, musicians and technicians, hence the name. It's also AKA known as the LPA. So these minimums are only really enforced in established companies, such as government subsidised companies such as the Australian Ballet, the Queensland Ballet, Sydney Dance Company, etc. And also commercial companies that tour musicals, such as the Gordon Frost Group, Michael Castle Group, and they've been pressured by their workers to go above the award minimums to attract the country's best talent in front of and behind the curtain. However, this is not the case across the entire commercial dance sector. We have small and medium venues or non-traditional hirers, such as corporate companies, events, festivals, companies like the AFL, for example, who we'll talk about as a case study a little later, that either don't understand what we do or don't recognise it or respect it as work. So, which is why we see the same problems in this part of the industry that freelance actors, writers and musicians also see: underpaid and or sometimes unpaid work. It's also the reason why we are excited to be forming Dancers Australia, which is an alliance under the MEAA banner, and have also created this survey. We want to create and enforce a national standard when it comes to minimum wages and conditions.
Yeah, good. Yeah. So what types of labour should you be getting paid for? Yeah. So firstly, we've got the creative process, which that is concept, choreography, casting, music, including any licensing in there, props, costume, and makeup. Our next one is rehearsals. So, for example, talent agents that represent actors or dancers at the major companies will receive a deal memo. That outlines the pay rate for X hours of rehearsals and Y hours of performances. Any extra rehearsals hours beyond the initial agreement will incur an additional payment, a penalty on top of the hourly rate. Tech runs are rehearsals and must be paid as such. So please remember that. Our next one is performances. All hours of performance must be paid. Any hours over what was agreed must be paid with an additional penalty on top, overtime. And our last heading there is extra expenses. So this needs to be negotiated before you start working. So these could be parking, special requested makeup, if it's something outlandish, providing or sourcing your own wardrobe for a performance, travel outside of the CBD area. This should be paid if you have to travel more than 20 kilometres outside of your GPO. And any extra at-home preparation, such as hair or makeup that you need to do. So, yeah, that's the types of labours that you should be getting paid for.
Something I'm often alarmed at is that independent commercial dancers, so people that dance under their own ABN and either accept work or quote for work, actually aren't really up to date with what the costs are, with what is minimum required amount. So, so we'll talk about that. Nadia, jump back in.
Hello. I'm so sorry. What happened was my phone overheated, and then for some reason, I don't know why it overheated. It's never done that before during a live. So we're here again. What have I missed?
So we're going to talk about what rate should I be paid. So it's over to you if you want to take this one.
Perfect timing. It's all aligning today. Meg jumping in the right time. I'm jumping in the right time. Okay. So I'm not sure if you mentioned the part about when are you considered a professional dancer? Have you ladies mentioned that at all? Yep, you already have. Okay, great. So let me go straight into. You haven't.
No.
Okay, let's talk about that. So there's obviously multiple ways that you can go into and get into the industry or become a professional dancer. One of the routes is obviously doing full-time, especially here in Australia. And basically for those who do full-time, you have to know that once and upon graduation, you are by technical terms considered a professional dancer. Now, of course, there's multiple things that will come into play in terms of determining your rate. Such as your years of experience, your skills, as when you graduate. Yeah, so it's not just a kind of flat situation where you graduate. I'm a professional dancer and now I'm charging X amount of money, right? Anyway, so I thought to myself, okay, how can we as dancers, because there's not really any kind of reference list, right? Like these are some of the ways that I've come up with, how do you determine your value in the industry, right? And therefore helping to determine your value will then also help you determine roughly what you could be charging, right? So one of the things is obviously your professional experience. So your years of formal and informal training. The types of training, do you have any kind of certification? Because it's not only coming down to the papers that you have, right? You could not have a piece of paper, but you could have 20 years behind your back of training in a prestigious school studio under a really, really strong teacher. So basically your type of professional experience that you have, whether you've worked with really big brands, what kind of artists you've worked with, the events you've performed at, your school and studio, like I mentioned before, right? I think also we kind of forget, it might be a little bit minor in a way, but I think your personality definitely plays a role. because, you know, you could be a really good person. You could be a really easy person to work with. I think that really adds value to you, to you as a brand. Sorry. I think your work ethic is super important. You know, are you reliable? Are you professional? Are you punctual? What's your communication skills like? Are you adaptable? Can you perform under pressure? And multiple times in the industry, especially as professionals, we know how it is already. You know, maybe the day before showtime. Sometimes what's happened to me once, even 2 hours before showtime, the client decides, actually, hold on a second, we forgot to let you know that you're dancing to a live band and not a backing track. And
Whoa.
the live band was completely different with the musical score to the original song. And we had to make major changes in the 2 hours before we go on stage. And that is really kind of like, if you can pull off those things, not to say that we have to always bend backwards, bend down backwards, bend over backwards. That's it. Bend over backwards, bend down backwards. That's so weird. Bend over backwards. For clients, I'm not saying that we should be able to do that, but however, there are such situations that do arise. And I think if that you as a dancer can provide the service to the best of your ability, even under pressure, that is definitely going to be something that will add value to you and why clients will want to work with you again, right? Investment in your craft is one thing that's super important. Are you traveling to the source if what you're in the styles of dance that you do specifically are not born in the places that you are living, right? So do you spend thousands of, maybe even millions of dollars, you know, traveling to certain countries to learn more about that dance style, about the culture? Are you consistent in training? And that also comes into play, and money and time. What about, do you spend money on your fitness and general maintenance, right? So if you're really, really investing, that's the word, into your body, into your health, and into your craft consistently, that also is something that would add value to you, right? What about your skill level, right? So are you someone that does something at a basic level? You can kind of pull it off, right? Or are you someone that super specializes in it, that you can do things that are like advanced combinations, or if not advanced combinations, maybe super hard physical to do moves that take months to years to achieve, right? So you could be someone that specializes. You could be someone that has like multiple styles under your belt, so you're versatile. That also adds value, because then you can be a chameleon. One day you could do popping, one day you could do dance hall, you know what I mean? What about your add-on skills? So you're not usually, I feel like, especially here in Australia, we have, it's kind of like a little bit of a double-edged sword the way I see it. I feel like sometimes because of I feel like a lack of opportunities that are specific to just dance performance, we are kind of forced to also wear the cap of choreographer one day, and then movement director another day, and then costume designer another day, and da-da-da-da. And then as much as it kind of looks like in some way it's a bit like, damn it, all I want to do is perform, this kind of like frustration or struggles then lead to you being able to have such a wide skill set of things that you can offer. And I think that in itself also adds value, because you might be booked to be a teacher at an event, and then you can say, oh, hold on a second, I'm also a DJ, you know what I mean? And then next thing you know, the event's like, oh, hold on, we need a DJ for a battle or something, right? And you're being booked. One person is being booked to do that and that. So that really adds value once again, right? I think your physical appearance is something that definitely adds value as well. Do you have a certain look that is super unique where you're at? Like, do you have hair that stands out? Do you have complexion that's different? Do you have eyes? Do you have something, anything? Do you know what I mean? Like tattoos that has a look about it. Like, yeah, I feel these things that I've, some of these things, and I'm pretty sure there's so many more, but these are just like an idea of things that you could consider when you're trying to, determine your value once again. I know it kind of sounds a bit like a broken record, but I do think that these are some of the things that you can look at if you haven't considered before to determine your value, as well as, nominate your fee or your rate. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is a great time for us to maybe even share some of our stories or experiences within the industry. So, yeah, I mean, Meg, would you like to take over for this one?
Yeah, sure. I'm really personally interested in the systemic understanding of performing artists in this country globally. You know, why is it that performing artists in 2022 are still considered sometimes as hobbyists, or that it's totally fine to do a gig for exposure? Just last week, I had a television station contact me asking for 30 dancers or so for 10 minutes on set, and with exposure, and as the compensation. So I'm really curious about what is it going to take to have this change. And I believe it has to go from the ground up and the top down. So ground up meaning from the dancers knowing your worth, knowing what the rates are, knowing when to say no, and having the confidence to say no, and that's okay. And that just because you say no, it doesn't mean you're going to be cast out of the industry. But that shouldn't even be a thing. This shouldn't even be a thing, that you are, as a dancer, nervous about if you don't take the gig for shit pay, that you won't get booked again. This shouldn't even be a thing. We need to rise up as dancers, as performing artists, and claim our worth and really get that, no, we bring real value. And this is what the rate is. So that's what we're going for here with Dancers Australia Alliance, is that, can you imagine if we were all on the same page? And so they, you know, so everyone knows their rates, everyone knows their rehearsal rates, everyone knows what a director's fee is, everyone knows what a choreographer's fee is, and we're all charging the same amount. Charging the same amount, so there's no undercutting. I'm personally really excited about that, about how cool would it be that across the board you felt safe as a performing artist to request your worth, your pay, So I've heard that many times from dancers where they feel shamed out of requesting rates.
I think just like rolling on, just like kind of adding to that, right? Like, I think the reason why there's multiple reasons to it, but I just wanted to add to that and say that, like, you know, I think there is this sense of like fear of like saying, oh no, I don't want to take that rate, or no, I don't want to take the job or whatever. And the reason is because there isn't anything in place, right? And that we do know deep down that there's going to be someone or even a whole line behind us that doesn't know the rate, or is just that desperate for that exposure ticket, or that desperate for that paycheck, that they will definitely just be like, oh, you don't want it? Move aside. I'm taking it. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, that obviously then teaches the clients and the business in general that, oh, there's always going to be someone that's going to want it anyway. Yeah. So if you don't want it, you think you're too good for it, you know, then we'll just ask this next person, right? And then eventually there's this fear that follows that, like, okay, eventually if you said no to this person, because you know your worth and you're standing up for your rights, it's still not going to somehow read like, oh no, she's actually really understanding, or he's really understanding, or they're really understanding what they're worth. You know what I mean? And it's just going to constantly go around in this circle. So
and just also to add again, so just talking about from the ground up, so meaning the dancers, so dancers knowing their worth, but also from the top down, meaning studio owners. You know, for example, I remember when I was doing my full-time training, I did a Taco Bell TVC, got paid nothing, but the studio got paid. So imagine if the studio owners could just say, like negotiate perhaps, and say, you can have 30 students on the condition that you engage 10 professionals. I'm just kind of a little disappointed, I guess, that and then of course we're training, we're educating the whole world that dancers will do free stuff. So I really, you know, for me, I've drawn a line in the sand where if, you know, we get asked for, you know, students will do, I say no, because I want to rep the industry and I want to put our best forward. So I don't want to give you students because you'll get a student product. They're not trained. They're not pros yet. Okay. So, but if the studio, you know, I mean, I know, dare I say, but the Brisbane City Council, when they do their Christmas pageants, they liaise with a dance studio who uses their students, and then they take a fee. But the students don't get paid anything. I mean, like when you go to a football match and the guy or girl selling ice creams, they get paid, right? So I don't know what's deemed work and a hobby. I think it's too blurry in the performing arts industry.
100%. It's definitely blurry.
Yeah,
definitely blurry. Although having said that, I do think there is a place for, you know, students like we, or people that are amateur dancers that are building towards the professional world where, you know, there are spaces and opportunities that they would be more, how would I say, suitable for them to take on those roles. And then, of course, bigger companies like you're saying, Meg, and that actually want a quality, that want professional, that would invest in the most quality caterers, like you were saying, or like, you know, this kind of thing. If they're going to put money in other areas, then they want to have also a professional product in terms of dance and performance, then that is also should be on the same level of what they're offering everybody else that's a part of that event, right? So, for example, if it's a charity and a charity is sort of like kind of going like there's no money at all, everything is sort of by donation or, you know, royalties in some way, then I feel like something like that would be a really great space, for example, for inexperienced amateur dancers that are trying to build up their reputation and trying to build their portfolio. Maybe spaces like that could be a good place for amateur dancers to start, right? Because we don't also...
But I think too, I'm so sorry, but I've been involved in charity events where I've seen lighting designers get paid more than dancers. It's a charity.
Oh, no, sorry. I kind of meant like as in an event where there's absolutely no money involved.
Yeah, okay.
So when nobody's getting paid. Yeah. So that, I mean, I feel like personally for me, that's just my personal opinion. That's kind of like where I sort of draw the line. It's like if I think... If I know that there's other people in the organization or in the event in some way or shape or form is getting paid their rates or their worth, then I'm like, hold on a second, then why are you trying to get free things from these people, you know?
Yeah.
And this is systemic. This is the whole thing. And this is what we're trying to, eradicate, you know? But yeah, that's, seriously, I've been to lots of charity things. I'm like, I bet that lighting designer's getting paid or, you know, and I don't know, grinds my gears. Anyway, but I do get where you're coming from too, because, you know, you have a product, you have a skill set. So say you've got an artist friend who's wanting to do a film clip and you know, you're friends, you know, and that, you know, dead set, hey, is this kind of what you're talking about? You know, dead set that they don't have money. So, you know, you'll get something out of that, I guess. But I'm talking about when it's a corporate company, a massive event, you know, like the AFL, like Sydney Olympics, like they've got cash. Come on now.
Yeah, I think 100%. Like that's definitely a completely 100%. That's very clear. Yeah.
No, totally.
Anna, did you have a story to maybe share about, like, I'm sure you have multiple, all of us have multiple stories that has happened to you where some conditions or pay wasn't quite right?
No, I think the biggest one that happens all the time, and I think every dancer will probably be like, oh my gosh, yes. The inappropriate or not safe or not even dressing rooms or changing spaces at gigs. I say that because sometimes you don't even get one. It's go to the toilet and get changed. The no water or just put your mouth or fill up your drink bottle underneath a toilet tap, you know what I mean? I think it's ridiculous the amount of things where it's like I'm paying for a product and then I just have no space for them. Or let's just put them in that room that's still getting built and there's dust everywhere. And they've got these extravagant costumes, but there's no chairs or no hangers or no lighting, but they expect to do what they're supposed to do. So there's not a specific thing because it happens so much that it's like almost like this huge, big main collective thing for me that I've just gone, why does that happen all the time? And that we should always be provided with safe and healthy workplace, full stop.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Absolutely. And just for those who just joined us and everything, and just to kind of reiterate, that is what we're, as much as we're kind of like yarning on about all these stories and all these things, this is what this is what this national survey is about. This is what this campaign is about. We're trying to collate the data from all of you that identify as a dancer in some capacity, whether you're a business owner, a choreographer, dancing in a company, you know, like if you participate in this survey, we collect this data. We are working towards trying to actually find a minimum conditions and wages so that we don't have to deal with these things anymore, where we get booked and we don't have to say, oh, P.S., by the way, just double checking you have a green room for us to change in. Just double checking, you know, you will provide us water. Like, really? You know what I mean? Like, it's, having said that, I actually also want to then add a story of mine that happened.
Please.
This is more from a teacher's perspective and the importance of a contract, or if not a contract, some type of a written agreement that protects you as a dancer being booked, or as well the client as well, because it can go both ways, right? But today we're talking from the dancer perspective. So I'm going to try and keep this brief, but basically my lesson from what happened before I even start the story, my lesson from this entire situation was that as much as you have friends in the industry and you might have a vibe in a sense where the person seems nice, right? Just, I know it seems a little bit kind of like a no-brainer where you kind of like don't mix friendship with business. It's very, like, everyone kind of knows it in that way. But when you're confronted with the situation and you're in the place at the time trying to negotiate that, confronting with the person, sometimes it is a little bit hard to tell a friend and go, no, sorry, but you still got to sign these pieces of paper. And your friend might turn around and be like, come on, we've known each other for like 5 years. What do you mean? Da, 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 da. And it's like, my thing now is like, I'm sorry, but if you're my friend and you respect me for what I do as my career to live and eat, then this simple thing of asking you to sign a piece of paper, it's not personal. It's not to say that we know you're going to cheat me or do something bad to me, but it's really it's my business practice and my protection. And I hope that you can respect that, you know what I mean? And that not make that mix in with friendship, right? So what happened was, this person, I wouldn't say was exactly a friend, but I'm the type of person that likes to kind of go on the vibes and, you know, energy. And this person really came off to me as a really nice person, right? And I've seen them on multiple occasions. And for years prior to that, they were like, really want to bring you to my home country and have you teach a workshop. And I was like, oh my God, yes, I've never been there. I'd love to. So months went on and I kept on nagging the person to return the signed agreement. And in the signed agreement, there are specific conditions that I stipulated, which was something about like, in a certain period of time, if you cancel, this is, I have a refund, like a no refund policy kind of thing. So if X amount of time, 50% of the security deposit will be kept. And then if in this certain period of time, if you don't follow through, then you are owing me the entire fee of the booking because it's too close to the date. I can't get work again. And there's no way that I can make up any kind of financials that I was relying on for that period that now I don't have anymore because you've canceled me, right? Yeah. So what happened was, I thought to myself, oh, she kept on replying and saying, yeah, I'm going to get it to you next week. I'm going to get it to you next week. And I kept on going, okay, that's fine. But then she had flyers out already and there was all this promo. So I'm like, okay, well, if there's flyers already and she's already announcing it to the community, then obviously it's kind of, you know, sort of definitely going ahead, right? And I remember I came off from another tour, and literally a week out before I was supposed to fly out for this booking that was supposed to go for 2 weeks, she just dropped it on me and was like, sorry, but it's not happening anymore, and we're not going ahead with it. We're not booking you, blah, 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 blah. And I remember thinking at that time, that was also during the summertime. That's when I was based in Europe, and it was the summertime. And everybody knows, if you're tuning in here from Europe, I doubt it because it's already 1:40 p.m. here. But if you are, you know, at that time of the year, it's like peak camp events workshop period. You know that. And I remember I had 3 different kind of requests come in the lead up to that date, and I had to, like, you know, decline all of them because I had agreed to go and do this thing with this other client for 2 weeks. And when she canceled me, I was like, okay, that's a week out from all the other dates that I declined. And there's just absolutely no way that I can be like, hey, so remember the time that you were trying to book me like 2 months ago? And I said, and so I lost that 2 weeks. And I remember for about 8 months, I didn't give up. I was just like I went to the point of harassing her. I was like, excuse me, but I lost 2 weeks worth of work that you owe me. I know you didn't sign the papers, but by right, you owe me that because that is my career. I survive on this. And I really didn't let it go. And it just got to the point that it actually got to my health because I became very stressed about it. I was struck. It really, it set me back for that summer. It was very stressful. I'm being very real with you guys right now. Like, it was just extremely stressful to the point, like, I was like, oh my God, how am I going to pay my rent or eat? Like, and I know it sounds maybe a little bit like, yeah, is she exaggerating? But I really wasn't. I remember that year. And I remember being like, and I think some of you might have even seen it. I released a video on YouTube kind of asking the dancers in my community to come together and actually publicly shame her. That's how far I got because I was went for it because I was like, not because of the fact that I only wanted what was rightfully mine in terms of pay to survive, but also because I really wanted dancers to finally stand up and actually get behind something that can happen to all of us. And we need to stand together in unity. And I think there's this statement that we said when we discuss, and we see it going around all the time, you know, there's no community without unity. There really isn't. And the situation with underpaying, undercutting, not paying, receiving payment and rates that are well below your worth and all that kind of stuff, it will continue to happen if we all stand individually and only have our own backs. But if we all come together and speak out and speak up and speak against when things are not right for yourself, but then for the greater community, we will make change, and then things will start to change.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Nadia. Absolutely.
Yes.
And also, like, you don't want that to happen to anyone else either.
Absolutely.
Like,
and that was the reason why I released that on YouTube. I was like, because I knew so many dancers that she knew, and I knew that at some point, if she got away with that with me, that it could happen to another person. And I didn't want it to happen to another dancer because I already knew what the struggle was like, you know? And unfortunately, the result of asking people to share it, it didn't happen because going back on what you were saying, Meg, earlier, they didn't want to share it because they were afraid that if they supported what I was saying of calling her out, that would then make them look like kind of like the person that would stir the pot, you know, and cause and be like, oh, this person's troublesome. You know, they like to get a bit political and be a bit controversial. All right, I don't want to book that person. And so people definitely look at it like that as well. They're like, oh, I'm not going to speak out. I'm not going to support this story, even though I truly believe that she should have been paid and I wouldn't want that to happen to me. But actually, hold on a second, I still want to get booked. So I'm not going to say anything. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So, so this is why we feel Dancers Australia. This is exactly why we're here. And the national survey we've put together are so critical. There is such a limited framework for our industry, and it's just enforced. It just isn't enforced when it comes to commercial dancers. Those protections that we see for other workers are not there for us. Multi-million-dollar businesses like the AFL can get away with having dancers volunteer their time for large-scale events like the pre-game and halftime entertainment at the grand final.
Yeah. I mean, the grand final performance would not have happened without dancers.
No,
let's be real.
Absolutely not.
Let's be real. In fact, even if I were to just step away from the grand final performance, just talk about the fact that in general, dancers, we add so much visual attraction and we, do you know what I mean? It's like you can hear a song and be like, oh, this is a vibe. But how many times have we heard a song and be like, okay, yeah, it's kind of cool. And then you watch the video and you go, okay, now I really like the song. Like it kind of suddenly gets you, like, it makes you hear it differently and it makes you feel something different and experience the song differently, right? And then if it's not just a song, even an event, you know, you're like, okay, let me take a break from watching one thing. During the break, let me watch something that's entertaining, you know, beautiful, talented, skillful dancers, you know, that are doing some incredible human, sometimes humanly impossible things, you know. And yeah, like, basically everyone in some way, shape or form benefits from some type of movement artist or someone that is involved in the dance world in so many different facets and ways. Animation, movies, cartoons, you know, when you're having nowadays, especially with technology, you're seeing dancers being hired to wear, I don't know what those suits are. I can't remember what the name of the suits are, to wear these suits and like help with movement in animation. That's dance. That's a dancer's job. You know what I mean? You're not going to get someone off the street that does, you know, a sidestep and a two-step only. You're going to hire a proper dancer, you know? So basically what we're trying to say is that, you know, dance, for those who are, you know, tuning in that are not dancers and that are trying to learn and understand the depths of what we're talking about, is that, you know, this industry is legitimate. It is hard labor. It is years of investment financially, energy, body wear and tear, you know, like, I mean, you know, we get injured and it's like, okay, so we don't have pay leave, you know, we don't, it's like you get injured, and if you're injured for 1 week, kind of manageable. What if you're injured for months on end? I'm going to give you a perfect example. You know, I have a friend of mine who is an incredibly talented artist. I knew him through the dance world, and then he's, some of you who's tuning in right now, you might know him. Probably not going to mention names just to keep it personal, but basically, you know, what happened to him was that he was performing as he's like promoting his music and performing as an artist, and had an accident at an event where he actually passed out, collapsed, hit his head. And for the last, I think it's been now, I could be wrong with the timeline, but I think it's been a good 6 months maybe that he's been out of work. And there's absolutely no way he has no support in that way. And then him plus so many dancers I've seen go live with a GoFundMe or a funding platform to ask to reach out to the community on a platform like Instagram or TikTok, depending on how many followers you have, to get that kind of support. And I feel like this is not, hopefully at some time in the future, we don't have to do that. Hopefully in some time in the future with this Dancers Australia initiative, we can, yes, we're working towards, the main thing is working towards minimum conditions and rates, but I really do hope that in some way we can then eventually work towards some type of protection for us as well, where that we don't have to feel like stressed that, okay, we have to really take even extra more care of our bodies just in case, because if we do get injured, we're really, really in a predicament, right?
I think...
sorry, Meg, go.
Just to add on real quick, that as a professional performing artist, I do think it is the artist's responsibility to insure themselves, and to ensure you can get income protection insurance. So this is what I mean with, I really think that being a professional dancer, it's an inside job. It's taking yourself seriously. Starts in your mind and heart first. I'm a professional. This is, you know, I invoice on time. I have my insurances. I have my public liability. You know, really being professional. And anyway, just to, you know, that's part of what it is to be professional.
But I mean, I probably didn't mention or didn't take into account of the health insurance, like you were saying, or like a protection kind of thing. I think I was more talking about like how, you know, a 9 to 5 job, you know, if they called in sick one day, they would be able to get a sick leave for the day. You know what I mean? Whereas we don't really have that option. It's like if we're sick and we can't come in to teach, or we can't come in to do the gig particularly, I'm pretty sure, like, I know that with teaching, there's a little bit more flexibility where we can go, sorry, but I can't make it. I really don't feel well. But if we're booked for a gig and we're the main featured dancer and the music video is shooting today, unless there is someone that, you know, could step in and learn the choreography from another person, but that still ends up being your responsibility to find someone to step in, So most of the time, if you're unwell, even if you're sick, you're still going to have to turn up on set, sick and all, put the face on, and the show must go on. You know what I mean? And we're really, so basically what I'm getting at is that we do compromise and sacrifice. There is a lot of sacrifice and compromise that goes on in our industry and in the career as a dancer. Like we definitely don't have a lot of luxuries to just kind of be like, yeah, nah, I don't want to work today, or I can't work today, or I just call in sick, pull a sickie. Yeah.
No, totally.
Anna, do you want to talk about Musicians Australia?
Yeah. So freelance musicians are in the same position as like freelance commercial dancers. Many of them have their own ABNs and are contracted to do work at venues or through promoters. They regularly have to chase up payments. So again, just like us, they bear the cost of things like insurance. They regularly get asked to work for free, or in the case of a muso, it could be a pizza or a beer. They are covered by the Live Performance Award, but it's not enforced because they aren't employees. Now, in 2018, Musicians Australia activists started surveying their peers, bringing them together from every state and campaigning around two things: a minimum musician's fee and a code of conduct. Supporters started to join them, and many started to sign on to the code.
In 2018, Musicians Australia started campaigning, but then the first major campaign really happened in late 2020 with Queensland, South Australia, Western Australia, and then New South Wales. They instituted a minimum fee of $250 per musician for every 3 hours of work for any publicly funded performance. This means that for any event with any state subsidy, school fetes, community festivals, book fairs, opening ceremonies, where any event where musicians were engaged to perform, they must be paid that minimum award rate. So it really established no undercutting policy. Yeah, so this is what we're trying to do with Dancers Australia, just to reiterate again.
So yeah.
Yeah, so this has been done before right here in Australia with the assistance of Mia. So Muso came together and recognised that they were often being underpaid or undercut by each other. So they rallied together, put their heads together and created Musicians Australia. So that's exactly what we are inspired by, and that's something that we're aiming for with Dancers Australia. So and so we're really looking for minimum standards and to be across the board.
Yeah.
So if you are excited about this, or even just have a little spark of interest, please fill in the survey if you identify as a professional dancer.
Yeah. And yeah, that's why this conversation is happening, and it's still going to keep happening. We've got to keep sharing it. We've got to keep educating, and I think not only exactly what you said, Meg, from the ground up, but even from the top down. Our next thing is educating our dancers to hold that, but then also teaching, like letting know our businesses, our full-time dance schools need to be up here. They need to be a part of this. So please share with anyone and everyone. You need to fill this out. You need to fill this form out. Where can you find the survey? Great question, Ali Phillips. All of us at the moment have it linked in our Instagram bios. But if you go to Mia and you follow Mia on Instagram, Facebook, they have the link there. I think it's bit.ly/dancers survey. Perfect. Thanks for that, Meg, and thanks for putting that in the comments, Nadia, the survey.
No problem. So for the viewers that have tuned in, I think we might have, I could be wrong, but I want to say five, maybe just a little bit over 5 minutes for some questions. If you have any questions about what we discussed today, we try to keep it concise and straight to the point, and try to touch on subject matters around the matter. Subject matters around the matter.
Dance it out, Nadia. Dance it out.
I got bars. that are definitely leading back to the importance of this survey, right? So any questions whatsoever. And just to kind of clarify again, it's not just dancers that identify as a dancer. It means a choreographer,
yes,
a movement director, something got to do with dance, a choreographer, a company owner, a studio owner, a business owner. That's somewhat, in some shape or form, if you're not directly a dancer, working with dancers. Like, it's the entire dance massive, if I have to say it like that. So you're all very, very valuable. Your voice is very, very, very valuable. Well, okay, wait. There's a question from Ellie Jane. How can students support their teacher studio with this? How can students support? Would you say if you're a student, would you say that there has been, have you picked up any type of like a one-off, maybe a casual paid job, would you say? If those students have had that kind of opportunity maybe, or even insight to what, like working towards a professional way, I still think that their voices would still be important. What do you think, Anna and Meg?
I think support workshops. If you're a student, support choreographers running workshops, things like that. Yeah. I think fill in the survey.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. In terms of the survey.
Fill in the survey.
Yeah.
So we can get all of it.
Yeah. So I just want to finish just to say this is so exciting, and this is really not about naming and shaming anyone, but it's really about pulling together and building the industry together, and being proud of what we do and what we bring to the fabric of society. Really knowing our worth. Hashtag know your worth. Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a question from Samuel that says, do you think full-time courses getting students to dance for free or as work experience has contributed to the situation we are in now?
Yeah. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Because it trains corporates to think that dancers are hobbyists. I think the dance studio owners need to negotiate and then teach the students. I would love to see that there's more focus on business and knowing yourself as a business in our full-time courses. And maybe also some more education, not to end up being a dancer, but a director, a choreographer.
Yeah.
But yes, I do think that full-time studios need to just have a think about the impact that it is when you say, yeah, our dancers will perform for free. Maybe negotiate that some students, but please make sure on the condition that there's 10 pros engaged. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. Yes, Ali, it's about reframing the language. Yeah.
Yes.
And I believe Ali had the last question of how do we get studio owners involved in supporting?
Getting them on another call like this, filling in the survey, do you think?
Yeah, I think the survey is super important right now, right? We're trying to get all that data there. So I suppose for anyone that's still here and tuning in, I think definitely filling in that survey, or if you directly are not involved in any way, you're just tuning in to kind of educate yourself, share it with anyone that you might know. You might have a family member that is a dancer or a choreographer, send it to them and then they send it to their community. I feel just everyone taking their responsibility in participating with sharing it and filling it in and having the conversation, actually actively having this conversation constantly is going to keep the wheels in motion in increasing the awareness, and also not kind of like it being, it's just, a one-time thing that we're talking about this and, it will blow over when they get tired of it. I don't think this is that situation this time around. I think right now, we're really adamant in trying to work towards something that is going to be a little bit more permanent and impactful.
But I think this is going to, if we do the work now for future generations, where a dancer can feel confident that they'll be paid and they'll be paid right. It just honestly, it really breaks my heart to see a dancer accept work that's not where they're not paid right, it actually breaks my heart. And this is what inspires me personally to, raise my voice on it, because I give a damn. I give a damn because, I see you dancers, I see you and all the hard work that you do. And what you do is important, and you add so much value. And I really, you would love to see that everyone in the industry, studio directors, producers, that let's think about the future.
Absolutely. And I think even sorry, I just want to say one more thing, and I know you probably want to add something as well, but I think, adding to that too, also having, giving the new generation and the next generations actually legitimate sort of hope, in a sense where, they can actually look at a dancer, a dance job, as in job as a dancer, and be like, yeah, that is actually a legitimate, respected career path. And I love dance, and that's what I want to do, Mum. That's what I want to do, Dad, and then Mum and Dad also can see that it is, that there is well supported and all that kind of stuff. And they go, yeah, go ahead, I'm sure all of us have met adults, especially if we teach adult classes, that, they say, yeah, when I was younger, I wanted to be a dancer, but, I guess I just didn't really follow through because there really wasn't much in it for me, or as in it wasn't stable enough. And it's just
there's just no industry because dancers keep working for free. There's no industry when you work for free. There's something. So when you say yes to an underpaid job, you really dampen it. It's not good for the industry. So I get it as well, why you would want to dance for free, because it can catapult you up, but does it really? Is it really? And does it do justice for the entire industry at large? So just something I think that we should really just think about a bit more than just getting the gig. Get paid. You're worth it.
Yes, you are. I honestly can't even say anything on top of that, ladies. So yeah, I feel like this has been a great chat. This is a really amazing start, and I want to hear more voices. I want to see more sharing. I mean, come on, Dancers Australia, let's do this.
Come on.
I've even I definitely, Ali. It's more about the collective rather than individual. So when you're accepting work or being asked to do work, make sure you're getting the right rates. It raises us all up, all of us.
Yes,
so,
yes, it does.
And learn to say no. Just say no. It's okay. Yeah. Anyway, I think we have to go.
Yeah, I think we do.
I've been talking about this for bloody years. And I have been talking about this for years. For 4 years, I've been seeing these things come across my desk. So I just had enough. And sometimes I just shake my head. I cannot believe that company just asked for that. I cannot believe it. This is systemic. This is ingrained that dancers work for free. It's just, no, we don't. Sorry. No, we don't.
Yeah. Thank you, Meg. Thank you. Thank you, Nadia. Thank you, Mia, Andrew.
Thank you, Mia.
Thank you, everybody.
Fill out the form.
Fill out the form.
Thank you for listening.
Do it.